When Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands in April 1982, the military junta that ruled the country thought they had a fait accompli, a view that was held by many.
It would appear the sun has set on yet another corner of the British Empire, this one far down in the South Atlantic. Argentina today invaded and seized the Falkland Islands, which have been under British rule for nearly 150 years.
But there is a growing feeling in official circles here that Britain's most viable and perhaps only weapon is diplomacy.
As international incidents go, it's hard to get too worked up about this one, except that it does illustrate once again that the power of the big powers is not what it used to be.
The attitude proved short-sighted. The British formed a naval task force and launched Operation Corporate, an expedition to recover the islands and reassert British sovereignty. The Argentine military's initial confidence that the mission was beyond the capabilities of the Royal Navy and British land forces started to turn to alarm as it became apparent that a substantial force was heading into the South Atlantic to confront them. Admiral George Anayer, head of the Argentine Navy and a member of the military junta running the country, conceived the audacious idea of striking the Royal Navy where it least expected it, in one of its home ports. With the British force reliant on a huge logistical tail to support the operation, the reasoning was that such an attack would force the British government to recall their task force. Security in Britain was considered to be too tight, so another plan formed. Using divers armed with limpet mines, the Argentines would seek or damage a Royal Naval warship at Gibraltar, and they had just a man in mind. In 1974, a limpet mine killed the Argentine federal police chief while he was on his yacht. Less than a year later, the brand new Type 42 destroyer, the Santísima Trinidad, which was still under construction, was sabotaged when a charge detonated under her hull as she was fitting out. The damage delayed the ship's completion for a year. The attacks were carried out by a terrorist group opposed to the military government. The diver who conducted the attacks was Maximo Nicoletti, a diver whose father had served in the famed Italian naval commandos during the Second World War. At some point after these attacks, Nicoletti had been captured by the military and had been turned, assisting in various covert operations before being tasked with leading the proposed attack. In true Dirty Dozen style, his team was made up of two accomplices who had helped in the previous attacks, and like Nicoletti, had switched sides once captured. The intention by the Argentines was that should the team be captured, then they could be written off and explained to the world as patriots on their own mission. The Commando team flew to Spain on the 24th of April 1982. The limpet mines, an Italian model, were shipped to Madrid in the diplomatic bag and handed over by the Argentine naval attaché. The team then used different vehicles to move them and their equipment, which included rebreathers and the 75 kilos of mines, to the coastal city of Algeciras, which lay just across the bay from Gibraltar. The trip was fraught. Spain was the host for the Soccer World Cup that year, and suffering from its own terrorist situation in the shape of the Basque ETA group, security was tight. Police checkpoints were on many roads, and the Argentine team had to scout ahead as they transported the explosives through the country. Reaching Algeciras, the team purchased a rubber dinghy and fishing gear. Using this as their alibi, they proceeded to reconnoitre the bay and lay their plans as they awaited orders to attack. The Argentine High Command was not ready to give permission at first, still hopeful that a diplomatic solution could be reached. But on 2nd of May, the British submarine Conqueror sank the Argentine cruiser General Belgrano, resulting in the death of 323 Argentine sailors. With this action, it was apparent that conflict was inevitable, and on 3rd of May, permission was given for the commandos to attack the first viable target. This arrived on 10th of May in the shape of the Leander-class frigate HMS Ariadne. The plan was for the team to paddle out into the bay around 6 p.m. the next night as though fishing, swim out to the frigate and plant the mines by midnight, then be back by 5 a.m. the next morning. The mines would be timed to detonate after this. With the plan in order, the team set about ensuring their escape route was ready, with two of them returning to the car hire company they were using and paying cash to renew their contract, as they had done on previous occasions. Though it will likely never be confirmed for sure, it was this action that was attributed to the failure of the mission. The car hire owner, suspicious of the team, called the police. This in turn led to the rapid arrest of Nicoletti and the other team member, who was sleeping at their hotel in preparation for the long night swim they had been expecting to undertake. Nicoletti quickly told the Spanish authorities about their identities and mission, giving the Spanish police a real quandary. As a newly inducted member of NATO, Spain was now a British ally. However, not wishing to antagonise the Argentines, the Spanish decided that discretion was the better course and rapidly deported the team without comment. It will never really be known whether the operation, had it succeeded, could have made a difference to the eventual outcome of the conflict. On 21st May, the British landed their troops on the Falklands, and on 14th of June, the Argentine garrison surrendered. But what is without doubt is that the whole British operation was conducted on a shoestring. The loss of another ship by the Royal Navy, only a week after the sinking of HMS Sheffield, and so close to home, would certainly have been a major shock. Operation Algeciras may have failed, but it remains a great case study for innovative thinking in special operations, as well as an example of how the simplest thing can cause a plan to fail. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to read the full article, you can find it at the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you